All right, I have a good one. I may have stolen it, but I need your opinion. Why were Indiana Jones, Lara Croft, and Nathan Drake upset? Because their careers were in ruins.
What? No.
What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. I need your comments down below. Are you excited for the brand new movie Uncharted? We're going to talk about it today, starring Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. Hey, everybody. You knew I was going to do that. Come on, it's like a thing. I've got to do it. So, street smart Nathan Drake is recruited by seasoned treasure hunter Victor Sullivan to recover a fortune amassed and lost 500 years ago by the House of Moncada. So yeah, what starts as a small-scale heist turns into a globe-trotting adventure with these two, maybe more, individuals, and of course taking from the classic story so many fans of the video games across the board. But before we get into whether this movie is worth watching or not, first off, I want to start doing this in my reviews. Is this a film that families can watch together? Uncharted is rated PG-13 with violence and some cursing, and it does follow that formula, so it never goes over the top. The violence is not bad enough, so I think it is a very standard PG-13 type of film. Now, if you're here and curious what kind of movie Uncharted is, you're in one of two categories. You're either in the category of those that are obsessed and loved and maybe even grew up with the Uncharted video games, or those that just aren't as familiar, or maybe you just played the game once or twice, like the characters, but you don't know a lot of the history and the lore. And I fall firmly into that camp. I really didn't play Uncharted as much as I wanted to. A couple of times at a friend's house growing up, but I'm just not as familiar with those characters and with those lore. Now, even myself, as someone who can't speak upon the lore, I can watch this movie and tell you that it probably doesn't completely follow what came before, maybe what fans are expecting, and I'm not entirely sure if Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg fit the characters that you all as fans are familiar with. It doesn't feel like they fit them to a T. Now, are there quirks and elements, things that you expect them to do that they do in this movie that may follow a similar path or remind you of those characters? I would say yes, but again, I'm not the expert on that. What I want to talk about is the fact that Uncharted, while it may be a more formulaic and predictable Hollywood blockbuster, there is some charm and fun to be had. A lot of that does come down to whether or not you're willing to accept the movie for what it is, and I understand why some people wouldn't, but in terms of an Indiana Jones national treasure-like treasure hunting movie with action and some really fun scenes along the way, and a story that you can watch and essentially tell and spell what's coming. Now, there are constantly and consistently shifting morals with our characters, and Nathan Drake is essentially the only one that is truly likable every step of the way. And there's so much betrayal in this movie from a numerous amount of characters that it does become kind of like, okay, well, they're doing that again. But at the end of the day, those types of films, if played in the right way, can be fun. And Ruben Fleischer, our director, has done this before, created movies that aren't going to be the most critically accepted films, right? But audiences, they tend to respond to them like a Venom. And that's the kind of category I feel like Uncharted is going to fall in. Now, again, you're tiptoeing a line there because you're also dealing with a video game movie based on a video game that a lot of fans hold close to their hearts. So maybe it won't be completely accepted by audiences, but those who go into this just looking for another fun blockbuster with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg, I think that's what you're going to get. It doesn't break any new ground. It doesn't bring us this stylistic direction that we've never seen before. Part of me looks at this film and says, man, it needs a Christopher McQuarrie. It needs an Antoine Fuqua. It needs someone behind the camera. And it's no disrespect to Ruben Fleischer, but even the scenes that were really fun, the third act of this movie, it's big, it's grand, it's completely ridiculous, but so are some of the moments in Uncharted in general, right? So I can accept that, but there's not a lot of style to it. And I think that's my biggest gripe with the film, beyond the predictability of the script, is I just felt like there needed to be something more injected into this to put it on another level. But just kind of looking at the surface of what this movie is, and a fun treasure hunting story with this underlying storyline of Nathan Drake and a relationship there with his brother, that was nice. And that was some really good emotion to get us started. You start out with the flashback scene, you develop who Nathan Drake is. Tom Holland plays him in a way that sort of feels like Peter Parker. It sort of feels like Tom Holland, but it's different enough to where you can accept it and say, okay, he is playing a version of Nathan Drake. A little younger than a lot of people expected, but he actually does a nice job in this movie because he's fun and there's that little bit of emotion there at the beginning to get us going. Then you have Mark Wahlberg. Now, I know way more about Nathan Drake, so I can't speak to as much the comparison between Mark Wahlberg and Sullivan, but I feel like Mark Wahlberg is kind of playing Mark Wahlberg in this movie. Now, it's not a bad thing. It's fun, once again, and that dynamic between the two. I think that's the reason why the movie works in the first place. But I don't know. If you're a fan of the video game, please comment and tell me if he was close, because I don't know if he was. And I don't really know if either character captured what fans will know and love. Again, it all comes down to accepting that and getting a fun movie from it, but understandably so, some people are just going to be like, that's not what I wanted from this film, and that's fine. My biggest compliment to Uncharted is it does take that adventure concept and really brings it to life in a handful of scenes, especially the plane scene that we've seen in the trailer countless times. It's on every single poster. That was actually really fun, and I was thoroughly enjoying myself in that moment. It did look a little heavy on the green screen, but I mean, what are you going to do? Throw Tom Holland out of a plane? Please don't. Don't do that.
What? No.
But even Holland's quirkiness and charm comes through in that moment, and there are so many moments in the movie where I said he is, doing a lot more than maybe even I expected him to do, and I appreciate that. And overall, I think some of the twists and turns with the villains, they're predictable. Banderas was barely used in this movie to his full potential. I needed so much more, and you can and can't see certain things coming, but at the end of the day, those things are so small they don't matter as much because you know where the plot's going at the end of the day. But if you are a fan of this treasure hunting and adventure kind of movie, this is another one you can throw in that category and just have some fun with. My biggest flaw, obviously, it's the screenplay. It's the kind of standard and spelled out story that we've seen countless times, and it is the overall lack of style, other than a handful of moments which I thoroughly enjoyed. I've seen some people throw around the word dull. I wouldn't go that far because I do think families and people will be entertained by it. I just wish there was something more there to take it to that next level and to pull it more away from kind of cliche category. So at the end of the day, I think it all comes down to your approach with this movie. If you're a longtime fan, I don't know if you're going to love it because there's a lot left on the table with some of the characters, but there is fun to be had, especially for a more casual viewer. So before I give you guys my score, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and you want to support this channel, be sure to drop your thumbs up, but most importantly, leave your comments down below. I'm not sure if longtime fans will love Uncharted, but as someone who isn't as familiar, I had some fun with it. It lacks the style needed to make it stand out from a crowded genre, but there are some fun action scenes to make for a solid experience. A 62% for my score. I wish I could have went higher than that. I feel like if they do a sequel to this movie, there has to be something more put into it beyond just what we've seen from other standard blockbusters before. But if you like this genre, this treasure hunting genre, that's not a genre, then I think you'll at least enjoy this enough. But again, I need you guys down below letting me know what you think, and come back because we have way more reviews to come on this channel. I'll see you soon.
What? No.